fight against the Most High.
Yeah, so it's the same thing with this kingdom being set up. Presently, there's no carnal means we can utilize to bring it down. But there's the same thing for what the kingdom of heaven being built. The basically the men of Israel that you see on the street corners pushing this word. That also is something which isn't going to come to you can't bring to naught. Because why? This is an enterprise being set up by Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is the formation and construction of the kingdom of heaven. That's going to be brought to the fullness real soon. That's the understanding people don't have, man. So that's why as well. You got Jake that really are doing the utmost, trying to integrate with society, trying to basically be loved by the society. They don't realize what's going on. This place is running for a season, it's running for a time. But that time's coming to an end, man.
So this is Isaiah 55 and 11. It reads, it says, so shall my word that... let me read from verse 10. But as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I send it.
Yeah, basically the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, they're going to go out, they're going to accomplish all they need to accomplish, man. It's as simple as that. And that's why it comes down to what? To knowing the word, which, hey, the elites, these guys, they've done their research, they've gone into the scriptures, it says what? Thou art wiser than Daniel, there's nothing that can be hid. These guys know. That's why they've done the utmost to try and essentially supplant Israel from the promises. But what? That's not something that can go down, man. And that's why it's all this hope and optimism people have about the society is because why? They don't realize the time. For them, you've got people that basically I can't remember if it was a meme or just something someone said. Yeah, I think it was a meme. Someone said like, 10 years from now, you're gonna find a face mask and an old jacket, and then your parents are gonna be like, oh, why have you got that? Remember that? And it's like, well, son, there was this thing that happened 10 years ago. People are basically looking to the future and thinking, once this is all blown over, then it's just gonna be a fond remembrance. Don't realize it's time of judgment. It's not gonna ease up. It's only going to worsen. People were talking about 2020 like it was that. All it took was like a week of 2021, and people gave up and realized, it's a wrap, man. Everything ain't going back to normal. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to have further worse events, more dire situations that happen that make people realize, you know what? And it's really that new normal as well, because it's that chaos being put to such a level where people are willing to accept any form of remedy that comes from the people in the position of power, man.
You even after this whole pandemic, you have some people that haven't felt the burn of anything, of anything that's happened. They've just been locked up in their house, working 9 to 5, and they really have no issue with paying their rent, buying food. Their life is fine and dandy. But everything, like it tells in the book of Jeremiah, the 15th chapter, the 16th chapter, judgment's appointed, certain judgment is appointed to different people. So at some point, they're going to feel the burn. And you even have people that are going to take the chip, RFID chip, and they just stay in judgment by the missiles. So they're going to be in America chilling out, enjoying, saying, wow, we got through that one. The next thing you know, they're going to hear that siren go off for a nuclear war. It's going to be like the end of the fourth kind, or the coming. What's the name of the movie?
Knowing.
That's it, Knowing. Yeah, where they basically, you drive to your parents' house, they have a big hug, and then it's lights out.
It's obliterated. But it's with as far as it says it's gonna come like a thief. Because for us, it's when you basically have to have the eyes to see and ears to hear. With it's by and large, the majority of people are dead, dead, are deaf to and blind to the truth. Because what Isaiah 60 it says, gross darkness is covering the people. People are in gross darkness. People don't even look into or investigate things, man. No one wants to. No one cares. Everyone, this whole society's been built around what? Bread and circus, man. Entertainment, fun, pleasure. It's a very pleasure-seeking society. That's why it's the majority of people are trying to. That's why everyone's Netflix subscription. No one cancelled their Netflix subscription in the last over the course of the last year, man. Amazon Prime,
the other ones as well.
Hulu. What else? HBO Max. Yeah, everyone's talking about the fucking the Snyder cut of what the hell is it called, man? Of Justice League and WandaVision and all these Falcon, these MC, all this entertainment. That's what's on people's lips. But as far as when it comes to what's going down, that's why even the whole the election fiasco in the States, where you had Trump saying, the election's stolen, blah blah blah, the culminated in making a run on the Capitol. People weren't really caring. People were just like, oh my God, I'm so relieved Trump's gone. As if, now everything's gonna go back to normal.
Well, when Biden came into power, he bombed Syria and then he said America's back on top. It's like America's back. So
it's back to the status quo. The same status quo that ain't changed.
They're like Obama weren't killing what they call them insurgents in other lands. And that's a name they just named them by, so you don't. It takes away some form of humanity to the people that get killed in these foreign countries for their enterprise.
Well, because even as well, what was it? The other thing they did was the border as well. Like when Trump was in power, it's like, oh my God, you just cages, blah blah blah. Everyone now is the same circumstances building up again. So it's the same resentment. They essentially opened the floodgates and said, hey man, you guys can come in. And you got people running through their migrant caravans, running through the whole of South America to get into the States. So that whole issue that seemed to have been forgotten, now it's coming to the forefront again. And these things are what? They got up racial tensions, those same things that are meant to be coming to an end. It's being fermented. So that's what, it's all these issues are still there. Everything's is still hitting that, getting ready to hit that boiling point where it all blows up, man. And it's the same thing in the UK, man. You had, the UK was meant to be the paragon of dignity on the earth. But it's coming out, that so-called height of that, which is what the what do they call it? The royal family. It's coming out they're getting exposed for whole racism, blah blah blah. That whole image is being torn down. And then even with this Sarah Everard thing with her getting murdered and kidnapped, whatever the hell, no one even knows what the hell happened. No details have come out. They've basically said, she was there and she was there, and then she got kidnapped and murdered. They found her remains. No one really knows how it went down, but everyone's mind's been caught up in it. Why? Because these things, it's just it's another form of entertainment, engaging with people's minds and getting them stirred up about certain issues, man. Because then when you get legislation or something put through off the back of it, everyone's gonna cheer and howl.
And that's really the main takeaway of all these situations. There's going to be some, but really what's already happened now is that you had the visual yesterday, and you had everyone protesting and being upset and all that kind of stuff, breaking the COVID laws and all that type of stuff. This is mad, it's raining because I'll tell you afterwards actually. Mm-hmm. But it's like the spirit told me, buy an umbrella and do this kind of, and do certain things. I didn't do it. And then now I'm like, fuck.
I've got one of those umbrella holders to stick on.
Oh, is it? That's what I'm saying. I was going to do the same they're going to establish laws off the back of this, off the strength, not even, but it builds up and all these things basically feed into one golden goal. Like the hashtag being big on Twitter basically with enough is enough, she will book you home or something like that. And basically those hashtags that said from being pushed out there, it's more working on the emotions of the people as opposed to the fact of the matter. She was walking home at 9 o'clock and a police officer somehow managed to take her home. Now it's become about women feeling insecure about walking home, they have to put their keys in between their hands. It's like, listen, as a woman, there's certain things you have to deal with. As a man, there's certain things you're obliged to deal with. That's the way of the world. Even when there was chivalry and there was a different form of etiquette between men and women, that's still something that went on. Because guess what? Rapists and murderers are part of the world. There's no escaping from that. But that's going to be used as a guide to establish more policy to be put in place to police the people, as opposed to just dealing with the matter on the surface level where it is. If you're a woman, you're gonna have to walk over something. You're gonna have to be like that's the way it is.
Or not.
That's it.
And then you gotta take responsibility for yourself.
And apparently, because I went into the Caribbean shop and the Caribbean woman she's like, why didn't her boyfriend talk on the phone to her when she was like all the way home? I was like, I don't know, man. 20 minutes and you know. But it's funny because when you talk to people in the world about this, they're saying, listen, you need to listen to what they're saying. I hear it, I'm aware of it. But as a means to actually deal with the situation at hand, it's going to be spun to lead into a totally different thing. Let me go back to
Daniel 8 and 24. Oh wait, 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. So yeah, through his craft, his policy is going to prosper, because that's how Esau gets down. It's just like with what 9/11, you get the Patriot Act. Essentially, whenever you never waste prices. Yeah, never waste the prices. Because as far as it's like this whole situation with, I don't know why, it's the only reason it's become such an issue, this Sarah Everard situation. Because why? Because the media's blowing it up. It's something that's been manipulated to it. I'm sure there's been...
well, there's a Jake girl that's on Instagram that's making it round. Everyone's uploading it, and it's a worse situation. She disappeared on the beach, and this was a year ago or 2 years or whatever, and they say it was never investigated. The police said there was nothing suspicious about it. So it shows you wherever the media picks up and gives legs or life to, there's an agenda behind it. There's a reason why George Floyd was allowed to be presented before the world as a big issue. That was by design. And just, I know you had a point, but just quickly say this, because that's something I said as an indication for things to happen. With George Floyd, what happened? Played on the hearts of so-called black people, right? Jake. We had niggas start coming out of the woodworks. Asher D coming on Instagram like, crying and everything. Yeah, John Boyega crying, making a rally crying for the black woman. Basically, it pulls on the emotions of the people. But then what happened after that? Then they had a movement online of people cancelling everyone and galvanizing, boots on the ground, so to speak, for everyone to basically sway the public opinion. Then they had to be like, okay, now we have to, and then you had influencers coming out and saying that, oh, now these companies that would have not dealt with black influencers before, they're giving them money now. So the reason why I mentioned the whole George Floyd thing is because these things have become a catalyst in a change of policy, in a change of the minds of the people. Now you have a woman, all right? A woman's been attacked, and that's changed the policy in the minds of the people and how they, in their regard to women. Now, people don't see that this is snowballing, because what's next? Next it can be anyone. Next it can say the LGBTQ, plus the alphabet people basically. Then they come out and say their problem. Then it can go to pedophiles. They can say, look, I'm born this way. There's nothing I can do about it. then like basically what
Basically,
I'm saying,
you can just push out.
you can push out anything.
Anyway.
Yeah,
As long as it's emotional, and that's really big. That's essentially the, what the media's been. It's been a while. Like when you look at kind of you have videos that kind of explain the change in how news has been reported. When you go back to like around the time of World War I, World War II, back in like the 20s through to like the 40s, then during these times, man, I would imagine.
They're always there.
Yeah, it's like a full-on red light as well.
It's better than them being on the end doing what they're
doing fuck knows what. They probably stole the bike anyway. But what do you call it? The change in how news has been reported. When you go back to like around the time of war, it was more just a reporting of facts. But then what you've had newspapers as a
tabloids.
Newspapers as far as for their use, which is reporting the news, people were losing interest, and it mainly came from the introduction of TV and TV programming, because it kind of changed the way people consume media, and that's something that you've seen an impact of in people's minds. That TV programming has truly worked, because people's minds are basically wired completely differently. So that's why it's like from the news reporting more on facts, it's more to like narratives and stories to make people feel emotional about certain issues. That's why you deal with documentaries, man. There's a couple documentaries. Like probably the most recent one I can think of is like Tiger King on Netflix, where you had that guy, man. What's his name? Think Before You Sleep, which I know everyone watches. He did a video recently of talking about how the media manipulates. Because why? Rather than reporting on the facts of what went down, they basically wanted to manipulate to be like, hey, look, they want you to think X murdered Carol Baskin is the villain. So it misreported facts and basically set up a narrative to kind of get people invested. And people are feeling super emotional. Another good example is R. Kelly. I was going to go to MJ. What's it? Thingy in Neverland. Leaving Neverland. I can't remember what they called it, because they interviewed the three guys who, when they were younger, were used as witnesses against, basically in support of MJ. They I can't remember what they said. They said they were character witnesses, I believe, and then they flipped completely instead of and just run it, dragged his name through the dirt, just for a paycheck, more or less, because they just completely changed. And there was no real evidence or anything, but then they were just saying like, blah, just bare emotional manipulation. And that's why, because Esau, he knows how to basically do these things. When you deal with Hollywood, as far as the institution, through the process of time, it's been developing a language and tools by which to make, to essentially get people invested in stories. Whatever the truth of a certain circumstance is. So and that's that you're seeing it play out. The same thing, just how the language of film is being applied in documentaries or meant to be reporting the truth. It's the same in news reports. That's why whilst Trump was in the presidency, everyone was amped up. Every issue, they were just all over the media. But now it's what? It's just like, everything's fine. All that hatred for Trump is now just like it's turned into relief. And anything the government does is good. Even though it's the same thing Trump was doing with the pandemic, now Biden does it, it's good. So people are ready to eat anything. Let the chip come out. People are going to be praising it, applauding, and saying, I'm getting 7. Go ahead.
Got this. Hold on, structure of policy. This is 1 Maccabees 8:1. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them. That's that Babylonian Jews, man.
That Tower Babel.
Yeah.
Spirit.
And make a league of amity with all that came unto them. Alright? and that they were men of great valor, it was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there, and by the policy and patience, and it's the point, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the king also that came against them from the utmost part of the earth, so they had discomfited them and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. So, as you can see, Romans, which were in the regeneration of Rome, they basically utilize the same thing that's been policy, as Daniel spoke of. So that's the way. It's doing by way of policy and patience. And that's why these things like this cancer culture, how long has it been around for? It's been around for a couple of years, right? But people don't know or understand that the cancer culture, they're chipping away at the people. They're utilizing gradualism, right, which is policy and patience. That's what you get, gradualism, or also known as incrementalism, right? So they're basically chipping away at the morale of the people to basically bring them in tune and in line with the mindset and the policy that they're going to proliferate to the people.
I was talking to
I got Romans first. So this is Romans.
Yeah, no.
So it's Romans 13:1. It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High Yahweh. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. And that's why even I won't even go into that, but more so when you look at the time of old, when you deal with like men like Daniel, right? Daniel he had a high seat within the realm of the kingdom of Babylon and the kingdom of Persia. And whenever he was presenting with something that basically went against the law, statutes, and commandments that were commanded of him, he stuck to his guns basically, in figuratively speech. He basically knew that, look, I gotta serve my heavenly Father, I gotta serve my power, so I ain't doing what you're gonna tell me to do. I'm gonna serve him. But outside of that, what did Daniel do? Daniel still, honored the kings that were there and the hierarchy that was over him and whatever. But when it came to them being in contention with the Heavenly Father, he always chose the Heavenly Father on every side. And that's the same way we're meant to basically handle ourselves with God for his kingdom. Right?
That's it's a show of what integrity, which is it's when you do those kind of virtues, man, like honor and integrity, they're of no account in modern times, man. In modern times, integrity isn't worthwhile. Because even if well, leave that point. But as far as that's not what people reverence, man. People are interested in carnal things. People are interested in basically the image, right? The surface level, man. How things are presented, how things are there. That's even with like the lifestyle, the lifestyles that are generally promoted and the people revere, the people reverence are what, like entertainers, people who've attained fame. Attaining fame is meant to be, some form of achievement and make you great. But then that just that small qualifier doesn't really mean that that's actually a person worth honoring, man. Because you got people that do vile, disgusting acts to get fame, And you got people that, they basically gain fame for being a piece of shit. This is the quality of, but that's how simple people are. People don't really, they're not deep. They're not really looking into anything. They ain't really understand like what's going on.
What are you filming?
Us.
Yeah.
Oh,
but that's you're filming yourself.
Reading the Bible.
No. I would love to see
No need to debate us, right? Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, in the nicest possible. But no, I do have one question, and that is why this spot, in as much as it's not a very busy thoroughfare, or is that better?
A lot of the busiest spots are you can't legally film it because a lot of them typically see stuff. Yeah, because certain parts of vast majority of Westminster is like privately owned, so then they can you have to either get permission or
Speaking from experience.
And the filming stuff, is that for your website?
we have pop on YouTube.
People that know.
Cool.
Sorry, I can't stop.
Another time, maybe.
Another time.
Yeah. But yeah, you said.
It's people, whether it's things based on what's pushed out by society. Because the people you have that are pushed out as icons and symbols, how many times is their integrity a matter of? No, it's either they might be good at a certain form of performance, or they might have a lot of money, or they might own a certain kind of business or whatever. Those things, it's all a mess. When you deal with the scripture says what, let us now praise great men. It's the men that are reverencing the scriptures. That's why, because of their deeds, their acts, their integrity on certain situations, man. Because for example, Elijah, when what was the rest of Israel doing? The rest of Israel was going whack out of their minds, worshipping idols, man, getting all up into them. But then he had the integrity to stay like, yo, come against them in boldness, man. Actually, on that note,
To the point where he felt like it was so bad that he felt like he was the only person that was in their right mind.
yeah,
And the Lord said, no, man, I've kept 7,000 that haven't bowed their knees to Baal. And that's the same thing with us. It's, Lord willing, we be of the elect. We're those same men. Because remember, in the book of Esdras, it was prophesied that there'll be a time where faith will be, what's the word? How was the word? Basically scarce upon the earth. Alright? But then there will come a time when it shall flourish. Because we're leading up into that time of the kingdom being implemented upon the earth. And that's why we're doing it works. That individual that came up, I didn't realize he bats for the whole team basically. The away team, sorry, should I say. He's into abominable works with other men. So basically, well, I don't wanna, these are out here, man. Well, he basically deals with that, he's about that life. So that's why it's, like us being out here, it's a thing of peculiarness. It looks crazy because this is the thing where faith isn't a big thing on earth, alright? That's forever. That shall go. Revelations 2 and 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
Fear none of those things. Yeah, so it's basically for us to receive our reward. It's expected to be what's the word, man? To be hated by the world. Basically, what we're doing, what the doctrine we're pushing, that's in complete opposition to what's pushed out in the world, man. Generally, people in the world, it's if you tell them like, oh, okay, certain things are completely averse from the scriptures and you're going to get judged for them, people get upset. It's even something as simple, even something as simple as basically saying bringing order back, putting women back in place underneath the men. That's a whole
extreme,
that's a boiling
Who is this archaic
boiling
beast of a man?
vat of oil, man.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing as well. All these issues, these things are the consequences of accepting these ideals is evident and observable why they fail. And that's a big part of why the Lord's allowed wickedness to hit such a level. Because why? It's you can observe the results. What's gone down? You make a big fat melting pot of every nation on earth, and then they're all got completely different ideals and completely different beliefs, and everyone's meant to just be chumming up. You know what goes down? All of a sudden, people are fucking bumping heads and have all kinds of problems with each other. Lo and behold, it's why that's how Babel's spirit was put to an end. But Esau wants to bring everyone here and mold everyone into one big blob of people. These things are completely off. You give women, you basically allow women to have the superior position over men. Then what goes down? What can you observe from that? Everything's a mess, man. All those women that are in these so-called high power positions, in these positions of prominence, they're all fucking upset. None of them get married. None of when they get married, they're getting grouchy and complaining, and basically the game's all thrown off.
That's the price you pay.
But then that's what you wanted. You basically bring in this LGBT, the alphabet people agenda, and you bring it to the fever pitch, man. You got pushed on to normalize among children all these different things. Then what happens? What occurs? You basically got confusion going up at a higher rate, man. People are saying like, oh, what it's to such an extreme where it's basically has to be pushed out and accepted in all facets and angles, man. But then what? The flip side of that is if you deal with something like the truth, it's meant to be, they say, oh, you're meant to be free to believe whatever you want. But it's like, oh, only when you have the correct beliefs. Now if you're coming against that, you're basically being looked at like an infidel, man, amongst Babylon. So then what? It's you're being pushed to the side and not allowed to participate. So what? This is really about promoting what the wickedness, the left-hand side. That's what it is. It's, as long as you're in alignment with the the same wicked principles that are being pushed out, then hey, it's all good. You're accepted. You're welcome. But if you're trying to have some integrity, some honor, and stand for the truth, then that's an issue. So really, it's not about what they say, liberty, freedom, all these nice words they used to dress it up. It's about